Welcome to Build Strong Habits podcast channel. This is an audio podcast, so take your eyes off the screen, sit back, relax, and listen.
Okay, so let's dive into this whole Elon Musk and Donald Trump thing in the 2024 election.
Yeah,
I mean, who saw that coming?
right. Total curveball.
You don't exactly see a tech giant like Musk backing a more traditional political figure every day.
Definitely not an everyday alliance.
But it wasn't just about the shock value.
No, not at all.
This partnership had some serious consequences.
Absolutely it did.
It even helped Trump get that victory.
Huge impact for sure.
And what's even more fascinating is that Musk didn't just casually endorse Trump and call it a day.
Oh, he was way more hands-on.
He jumped headfirst into the whole political scene.
He really did.
Totally changed the game as we know it.
Completely. And what's so interesting is how he used his wealth and influence
Oh,
to make a real impact.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just about waving around his billionaire status.
right.
He used these innovative, sometimes even shocking tactics to get everyone's attention
For sure.
and ultimately to sway voters.
Absolutely. Case in point, that $1 million giveaway.
Oh, yeah. Talk about a power move.
Giving away $1 million every single day to voters in those key battleground states.
And to get it, all they had to do was sign his America PAC petition.
Which, well, it seemed like it was all about free speech and gun rights.
Right.
Actually really mirrored Trump's platform.
It did. It was a clever way to get voters aligned with Trump's ideas before they even got to the voting booth.
Genius marketing, for sure. But a move that bold was obviously going to cause some controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Remember all that debate about whether it was a lottery or not?
Oh, yeah. People were saying he was basically trying to buy votes.
It definitely pushed the limits of those campaign finance laws.
It did.
And it raised some serious ethical questions about the role of money in elections.
For sure. Does money, especially on that scale, actually have the power to change people's minds?
It's a slippery slope. And as if the giveaway wasn't enough,
Right.
Musk then went and poured over $19 million into America PAC,
Wow.
this pro-Trump super PAC that he co-founded.
Yeah.
Now, for those who might not be total experts on campaign finance,
Right.
super PACs are basically these political giants
Yeah.
that can spend unlimited cash
Yeah.
to try to influence elections.
And with Musk's backing, America PAC had some serious firepower.
Oh, yeah, they launched this huge old-school door-knocking campaign,
Interesting.
trying to connect with voters on a personal level.
That personal touch.
But even that strategy got some criticism.
Oh, really?
There were rumors about workers being pressured to meet these crazy targets,
Oh.
and even having to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Sounds intense.
It seemed like even when he was going for that traditional campaign style, Musk couldn't resist adding in a layer of secrecy and control.
Classic Musk.
That's so Musk.
It's this mix of traditional politics and Musk's disruptive tech approach
Yeah,
that makes the whole thing so interesting.
totally. He's not afraid to experiment to shake things up, and that totally kept everyone guessing.
For sure. And speaking of shaking things up,
Oh, yeah.
let's not forget about how vocal Musk was about supporting Trump.
Right, he didn't just throw money at it.
Nope.
He was out there showing up at rallies, giving interviews, the whole 9 yards.
It was a big deal, and I think his endorsement, especially for younger voters who look up to him and his innovative spirit,
Yeah.
might have actually been what tipped the scales for some people. He
Again.
kind of made Trump's campaign seem more legit,
Yeah.
and it might have pulled in voters who were on the fence.
It's fascinating how his image as this rule breaker
Yeah.
actually resonated with people who might have completely ignored Trump otherwise.
It is, and you absolutely cannot talk about Musk's influence without bringing up X,
Right.
formerly Twitter.
Of course, owning that platform gave him this megaphone
Yeah.
to basically shape public opinion, especially during the election.
It's important to remember that Trump was actually banned from Twitter before Musk took over,
Oh, right, yeah.
and his decision to let Trump back on gave him direct access to millions of followers,
Right.
which totally changed how information was flowing during a really crucial time.
And he definitely used it. Musk was constantly on X promoting those conservative causes and amplifying Trump's messages.
It really shows you the power of social media to shape what people think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes even without us realizing it.
It makes us think about the bigger picture of what social media's role in elections really is.
Right.
What does it mean for fairness, for transparency, for the potential for manipulation and even censorship?
Yeah, these are important questions.
Definitely. And it's even crazier when you think about how Musk didn't just stop at money and social media. He
Right?
was actually out there on the campaign trail with Trump.
That's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
Like a tech CEO turned political powerhouse.
And he brought his own unique brand of humor to those already intense political rallies.
Remember that rally where he made that joke about Kamala Harris's safety?
Oh, yeah, that was a moment.
It was a prime example of how he could grab everyone's attention and even stir up controversy.
Totally. And it's wild to think about this contrast. You have Elon Musk, the guy who wants to colonize Mars,
Yeah,
and revolutionize transportation standing side by side with Trump,
I know.
who a lot of people see as representing this more traditional, almost old school view of America.
It's a head-scratcher for sure.
It makes you wonder, was Musk just amplifying trends that were already happening, or did this mark a whole new era
Yeah.
where tech giants are actually reshaping American politics?
It's hard to say for sure, but it definitely makes you think about how technology, wealth, and power are all intertwined in our country. Big time. And it begs the question, what does this mean for the future of American politics?
Exactly.
Are we heading towards a world where tech billionaires are calling the shots?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Literally, but even beyond the money, Musk's actions have started this debate
They have.
about how technology and wealth can shape our democracy.
A very important debate.
It's a conversation we all need to be part of.
We can't just assume things will go back to how they were.
Right.
Musk's involvement, whether you like it or not, has changed things forever.
It's like he rewrote the rules of the game.
Yeah,
And now we're all trying to figure out how to play.
we are. But before we jump ahead,
Yeah,
let's take a closer look at how all of this actually played out when people voted.
good point.
Like, did all of Musk's moves actually translate into votes?
Exactly.
Did they help put Trump back in the White House?
That's what we're going to dig into next.
So let's see if those big moves actually turned into votes.
Yeah,
I mean, flashy campaigns and tons of money don't always mean you win the election.
right. It's one thing to grab headlines. It's another to actually convince people to vote a certain way and change the political landscape.
Exactly. So did Musk's big experiment actually work?
That's the question.
Well, the numbers tell a pretty interesting story.
Okay.
Remember those battleground states where Musk was really focusing his efforts?
I do.
Trump actually made some big gains in those areas, especially among groups that usually vote Democrat.
Really, like younger voters, the ones who are all about tech and new ideas?
Yeah, exactly. The ones who practically worship Musk like he's Tony Stark.
That's surprising.
It is. A lot of analysts thought Musk would actually push those voters away, but it seems like the opposite happened.
So his being involved actually helped Trump.
It seems like his endorsement, his presence, it almost made Trump seem cool, like he was in touch with the future.
So it wasn't just about the money or the social media stuff. It was about Musk himself.
Right. His image as this rule breaker, someone who does things differently, that really connected with voters who might have never considered voting for Trump otherwise.
That's fascinating.
We're seeing this more and more these days. The lines between celebrities, technology, and politics are getting blurry.
Yeah, I could see that.
Voters, especially younger ones, they want someone who's authentic, someone who breaks the mold, who doesn't fit that typical politician image.
And Musk definitely fits that description.
He does with his unconventional style and his big, bold vision. He really tapped into that feeling.
Okay, but let's be real here. Trump won this election by a landslide? Are we saying Elon Musk single-handedly made that happen?
No, of course not. Elections are complicated. There are tons of factors that influence the outcome, but you can't deny that Musk's involvement had a big impact.
I guess not.
His money gave Trump's campaign a huge boost. His use of X let him bypass the traditional media and control the story, and his endorsement brought in a whole new group of voters.
It's almost like he figured out how to hack the system, not like in a technical way, but by using the rules to his advantage and leveraging his influence in a way we've never seen before.
He definitely showed us some weaknesses in the system. He took advantage of those campaign finance laws and used his tech skills to get ahead. It's a wake-up call, showing how these new kinds of power can be used in politics.
So what does this mean for the future? Are we going to see more tech billionaires getting involved in elections? Is this the new normal?
It's definitely possible. Musk has shown that money and tech influence can be incredibly powerful tools in politics. I wouldn't be surprised if other tech giants see what he did and try to do the same thing.
And that's kind of scary, right? Do we really want elections decided by a few super rich people with huge platforms?
It's a valid concern, and it shows us why we need to have serious conversations about campaign finance reform. We need to rethink the role of social media in elections and figure out how to prevent foreign interference through these platforms.
It's not just about who wins or loses. It's about protecting the whole process.
Exactly. We need to make sure our elections are fair, transparent, and accessible to everyone, no matter how much money they have or how much tech influence they have. That means dealing with these new power dynamics and finding ways to level the playing field.
This is complicated stuff. There aren't any easy answers. It's going to take a lot of thinking and debating to figure out the right solutions.
Absolutely. But the first step is recognizing there's a problem, understanding how these forces are shaping our political landscape.
Only then can we find solutions that protect and strengthen our democracy.
Exactly. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? To break down this complex issue and help people understand what's going on.
Yeah.
It's about encouraging informed debate and empowering people to engage with these issues because ultimately the future of our democracy depends on it.
Well said. And speaking of the future, we've been talking about the problems, but what about solutions? What can we actually do to make sure technology helps voters and doesn't become a tool for manipulation?
That's the million-dollar question. And while there aren't any easy answers, I think there are definitely steps we can take to reduce the risks and use the positive potential of technology in politics.
I'm listening. Let's explore those potential solutions and see if we can figure out a way forward. Okay, so we've talked about the problems, the threats to democracy in this new world of tech-driven politics. But what about solutions? Like, is there anything we can actually do to make sure technology helps voters instead of being used to manipulate them?
It's a tough one, but I don't think we should lose hope.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, we've faced challenges to democracy before, and we've always found ways to adapt.
that's true.
And remember, technology itself isn't the problem.
Right.
It's all about how we use it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin? What are some actual things we can do?
Well, one idea that's been floating around is campaign finance reform. What if we set stricter limits on how much money individuals and those super PACs can give to campaigns?
Interesting.
It could help level the playing field, you know,
I see.
and reduce the influence of those mega donors like Musk.
Yeah, that makes sense. But wouldn't that run into problems with free speech?
Uh-huh.
Donating to campaigns is like a form of expression, right?
It is a valid point.
Protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, but I think there are ways to address that while still limiting the influence of all that wealth.
Okay.
We could focus on transparency, for example.
Okay.
Imagine if every voter could easily see exactly who was funding each candidate and where that money was coming from.
That's a good idea. More transparency would give voters more power to make informed decisions.
Right.
It'd be a lot harder for those super PACs to operate in the shadows.
Exactly. But what about the big issue, social media?
Oh, yeah. That's a tough one.
It feels almost impossible to regulate those platforms without messing with free speech or giving the government way too much control over what we see online.
It does feel impossible.
Social media has so much potential for good.
It does.
Connecting people, giving voices a platform, making it easier to get involved in politics.
Oh, sure.
But it's also become a breeding ground for misinformation, echo chambers, and, all sorts of bad stuff.
We saw how Musk used X to boost Trump's message during the election.
We did.
So how do we find that balance?
Right.
How do we stop these platforms from being used as weapons while still protecting free speech?
I think the key is accountability.
Okay.
We have to hold those social media companies responsible for what's being shared on their platforms.
So what does that look like?
Well, it could mean requiring them to be more open about their algorithms.
Oh, you mean those things that decide what we see?
Exactly. It could also mean pushing them to be more proactive about getting rid of misinformation and hate speech.
So instead of waiting for things to blow up and then reacting,
Yeah.
they need to be working to prevent that stuff from spreading in the first place.
Exactly. And they could partner with fact-checking organizations
That's interesting.
to double-check information before it goes viral.
That makes sense.
It's not a perfect system, but it's a start.
It would definitely make it harder for people to use these platforms to manipulate others.
Right. But it's not just about what those companies do.
Oh,
It's also about how we as individuals use social media.
true.
We can't just passively scroll through our feeds and believe everything we see.
Yeah, we have to be more critical.
Exactly. We need to question the information we're given and look for different viewpoints.
So it's about being an active participant in our democracy.
Yes, not just a passive observer.
And that's what this deep dive is all about,
Right, exactly.
helping people understand these issues so they can be informed and engaged citizens.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So even though the 2024 election showed us some weaknesses in our system, it also gave us a chance.
A chance for what?
A chance to have these important conversations, to rethink how we approach things like campaign finance and social media, and to figure out ways to make sure technology makes our democracy stronger.
I agree. It's a challenge for sure, but it's one we have to face head on if we want to protect those core values of freedom, equality, and justice for everyone.
I think that's a great place to wrap things up. The future of our democracy isn't set in stone. It's something we build together through our actions, our choices, and our commitment to those values.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you something to think about and maybe even inspired you to get involved in shaping the future of our democracy.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Build Strong Habits.